This is the Synthetic Signal Report for Friday, March 20th, 2026, in the morning. Today's report covers Google's new 24-hour delay for side-loading Android applications, two newly discovered bypasses for Azure sign-in logs, and a $2.5 billion smuggling operation involving Super Micro and Nvidia hardware. We also examine Walmart's move toward algorithmic dynamic pricing, Ethereum's progress on post-quantum transaction signatures, and a massive billion-dollar injection for psychiatric research at the Broad Institute. Finally, we look at the International Energy Agency's emergency recommendations to combat rising oil prices through mandatory work-from-home policies. Google has detailed a significant shift in how unverified applications are handled on the Android operating system. The company is implementing a mandatory 24-hour review process for any application side-loaded from outside the Google Play Store. When a user attempts to install an unverified package, the system will now trigger a security hold. This is not a simple warning dialog. The operating system will physically prevent the installation for a full day while Google Play Protect performs a cloud-based analysis of the application's behavior. This development is being framed as a defense against social engineering and rapid-fire malware deployment. By forcing a one-day delay, Google aims to break this sense of urgency that attackers use to trick users into installing malicious software. However, this creates a major friction point for the open-source community and independent developers who rely on direct distribution. The change effectively moves Android closer to a walled garden model, where the convenience of immediate installation is reserved exclusively for applications vetted by Google's centralized infrastructure. Security researchers at Trusted SEC have published a full disclosure regarding a third and fourth method to bypass Azure sign-in logs. This is an update to previous research into how Microsoft manages identity metadata. The vulnerability allows an attacker to authenticate to an environment without generating a standard record in the primary sign-in logs that administrators use for monitoring. The bypass exploits how specific Microsoft services, such as the Office 365 portal, handle session tokens. By manipulating the way a request is routed through these secondary services, a threat actor can gain access to sensitive resources while remaining invisible to automated security alerts. This is a critical failure of the audit trail. In a typical investigation, the sign-in log is the first place a security team looks to identify a breach. These new methods prove that a lack of log entries does not guarantee that an environment is secure. This discovery highlights a structural gap between authentication and logging within the Microsoft intra-identity architecture. Federal prosecutors have charged a co-founder and several employees of Super Micro with conspiring to smuggle high-end Nvidia hardware to China. The value of the diverted technology is estimated at $2.5 billion. The operation involved thousands of dummy servers that were designed to look like low-end equipment. The technical detail of the how is particularly striking. The suspects allegedly used industrial hairdryers to heat and peel serial number stickers off of restricted Nvidia H100 and H200 grade chips. These authentic identifiers were then placed onto dummy components, while the high-performance hardware was rerouted through a network of shell companies in Southeast Asia before reaching its final destination in China. This is a significant blow to United States export controls. It demonstrates that even the most advanced semiconductor restrictions can be bypassed using low-tech physical manipulation at the assembly and distribution level. Walmart has secured a series of patents for a system that gives machine learning algorithms more control over product pricing. This pushes the retail giant into a new phase of dynamic pricing, where the cost of an item on the shelf can change in real time based on demand forecasting and inventory levels. The system uses a method for dynamically and automatically updating item prices by analyzing local shopping patterns, competitor pricing, and even weather data. Unlike traditional sales, these adjustments are targeted and automated. This creates a feedback loop where the algorithm can test the price elasticity of a specific neighborhood or demographic. Critics are concerned that this will lead to a lack of price transparency, where two shoppers in different locations see vastly different prices for the same essential goods based on an opaque algorithmic decision. In the sovereign finance sector, Ethereum researchers have achieved a 37% reduction in the gas costs associated with post-quantum transaction signatures. This is an under-the-radar development that addresses the harvest now, decrypt later threat from future quantum computers. The new implementation uses Falcon 512 and Falcon 1024 verification algorithms, integrated through a process called account abstraction. Falcon signatures are significantly larger than current standards, which usually makes them too expensive to use on a blockchain. However, by optimizing how public keys are encoded and decoded, the researchers have brought the cost of a Falcon 512 verification down to 4.7 million units of gas. This is a signal from the future of digital sovereignty, suggesting that Ethereum is building a path to remain secure even after the current cryptographic standards are broken by quantum hardware. The International Energy Agency, or IEA, has issued a 10-point emergency plan to governments as oil prices surge due to the Middle East conflict. The watchdog is advising immediate, mandatory measures to reduce fuel consumption. The most significant recommendation is a requirement for employees to work from home at least 3 days a week whenever possible. Other measures include reducing highway speed limits by 10 kilometers per hour and implementing car-free Sundays in major cities. The IEA warns that the current disruption to energy markets is likely to be drawn out, and that without structural changes to how we move and work, a global fuel shortage is inevitable. This is a grounded shift in policy that treats remote work not as a corporate perk, but as a critical component of national energy security. Community sentiment is currently split between enthusiasm for new generative tools and a growing trust crisis regarding AI overreach. In the AI space, Google's Project Genie is generating buzz for its ability to create interactive gaming worlds from a single photo or prompt. However, a major data leak at Meta has dampened the mood. An internal instruction given to Meta AI agents reportedly caused a leak of sensitive employee data, which critics are pointing to as evidence that companies are deploying agentic systems before they are properly understood. On the hardware front, NASA is preparing to roll out the Artemis II moon rocket at the Kennedy Space Center, targeting an April 1st launch. Meanwhile, Amazon is reportedly developing a dedicated Alexa phone to integrate its voice assistant deeper into the mobile experience. Finally, a top story on Hacker News titled, "I'm okay being left behind," is resonating with a segment of the technical community. It reflects a growing desire to opt out of the constant cycle of AI updates and digital surveillance. This sentiment is echoed in a new survey showing that public distrust of AI is at an all-time high, driven by fears of job loss and the death of software as a creative discipline. This concludes the Synthetic Signal Report for Friday morning.